Hello, I'm Astrid. I'm a Business and Information Systems Engineering at KU Leuven, and last year I went on exchange to SKEMA Business School in the south of France. It was actually my second pick. My first pick was somewhere in Denmark, but I'm quite happy that it turned out to be SKEMA Business School because it turned out to be one of the best experiences in my life. The location in the south of France near big cities like Nice and Cannes was just the ultimate vacation destination, and the fact that it was a quite easy business school also added to it. It wasn't that difficult to get used to the language, mainly because all the courses were also taught in English, so there wasn't really the language gap of following courses in French. And also the local people really tried to speak English if there was some miscommunication, but for the most part there wasn't really any language gap. I felt like the courses were much easier, mainly because it was a business school, not a university, and on the other hand because there was a more personal teaching method. The teachers were normal people with a normal job that came to teach at the campus for once or twice a week. They knew you by name. You were in a class with a maximum of 20 other students, which made it a lot more easy to communicate, to ask questions, to go into discussion with each other. And I feel like that really bettered my learning experience there. We did have some courses that had group work, some courses that had assignments. And also a thing that I would like to mention is that we also had midterms. I think about 1 or 2 per course, which means that we had to study during the year, not only for the final exams, but also for these midterms, which could be an advantage or could be a disadvantage depending on how you see it. I did enjoy this type of teaching, but it was kind of a lot to get used to in the beginning because we're so used to the big aulas at KU Leuven and the not knowing your professor, and the professor not knowing all of the students. The business school actually provided us with a housing platform on which we could search our own accommodation. I did find my initial accommodation on there, but I did find that the information on there was quite misleading because it showed you where the campus was situated and where all the other possible accommodations were situated, which gave you kind of the idea that you had to be close to the campus, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to get there except by car. So it would have been nice if they provided us with some information about bus schedules or even train schedules, if that would be applicable. But they didn't. So in the beginning I had a bit of bad luck with my accommodation, mainly because I chose accommodation in the middle between the campus and the city center of Antibes, which was a mistake because it was situated in the middle of nowhere and I needed to take a bus to get everywhere. And in France, this isn't really an advantage because the buses often go on strike and then you're just stuck in the middle of nowhere. And that is why 1 week after I arrived, I decided to cancel my accommodation, which left me with 1 month to look for a new place to live, which turned out to be more difficult than I expected. Since Antibes is a holiday destination, the rent prices are quite high and people and landlords are often not open to renting to you for such a short period of 3 months. Luckily, I did find a woman who wanted to rent out her studio space that was attached to her house. So it all turned out to be fine, but I would just advise you to look for accommodation in the old town of Antibes. I would choose SKEMA again, and I would even put it on my first place if I would have to make the decision again, because it turned out to be the best time of my life. The fact that it was always sunny there, so it was hard to become or stay depressed or stay sad. And the fact that it was such a central location. The Nice airport was only 30 minutes away by train from where you could fly to literally anywhere. A lot of my American exchange friends did that. They flew all over Europe for pretty cheap. And myself, I went to Portofino in Italy and Marseille and Montpellier just by train, which was pretty cheap too. So it was really nice that you weren't stuck in one place all the time because traveling was expensive. I think the worst part was the fact that we had to wake up really, really early because courses started at 8 a.m. in the morning, which meant waking up at 6:30 and taking the bus at 7:15 to make it on time because of the French traffic there. The courses also lasted 3 hours and 15 minutes, which meant 1.5 hours of courses, 15-minute break, and then another 1.5 hours of course, which was in the beginning a lot to get used to because my concentration span wasn't that long in the beginning. And also I arranged my courses this way that I had courses on Monday afternoon, Tuesday the whole day, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and then Wednesday morning, so that I had a long weekend, but that didn't take away from the didn't take away from difficulties I had to stay awake the whole Tuesday. One word to describe my exchange period is just vacation. There was a fast bus to the campus from Antibes Old Town, which would have made deciding where to find housing a lot more easy. A tip I could give is to always check if the trains or buses are on strike, because I've had it that I was at the bus stop and that I found out that the buses weren't driving that day. One thing, actually two things that you shouldn't forget to pack is your swimsuit and your beach towel, because you'll definitely need it. So a tip for people who might be interested to also going to SKEMA Business School is to definitely take your shot and not be scared of the French culture.